Hi, I'm Teresa Tui with Grand Trine Astrology. And have you ever thought about getting an astrology reading, but you just weren't really sure and you didn't know what reason why you should get one? Well, I'm going to give you 5 reasons for getting an astrology reading. And so the first one is self-discovery. So self-discovery can look different for every person. Well, it will look different for every person. That's the coolest thing about it, because we are all unique and our charts are all unique to each other. And what's good about looking for self-discovery, maybe you're just not sure what you want to do with your life, or maybe you have some of those things that probably should release, like self-doubt or imposter syndrome or things like that. And when an astrologer is looking at your chart, they can see what your natural talents are, where the energy is in your chart that you're going to excel at, the things that you would be interested in. So it can really give you insight into who you are. Usually what it is in life, like we may already be displaying some of those things that are in our chart, but we may not be confident about it. I'm going to give you just an example. Let's just say you have a lot of fifth house placements, which is creativity, children, things of that nature. And let's just say that in your spare time, you're painting all the time, but you're not showing anyone. And then the few people who may see little glimpses of your talent will go, wow, that's stunning. But you don't have the confidence yet to show it. But then an astrologer goes, well, why don't you? Look at all this. You've got that energy to actually be successful at this. You should be showing your work. And so it's a way to self-discover and a way to solidify some of the themes that probably are already going on in your life. There's just so much insight that can be gained through an astrology reading, astrological reading. And yeah, in fact, you'll notice that sometimes I'll have a hard time saying things. Believe it or not, that's in my chart. And it's okay, because that's who I am. So self-discovery is probably the biggest reason to get a reading. However, there's more. So the second reason would be for relationships, like couples. But it doesn't have to just be couples. It could be relationships with your friends, your family, things of that nature. But what an astrologer can do, they can look at your chart, and if they have the information of somebody else, like a synastry chart, if you're in a serious relationship, they can see the things that mesh and that flow, but also those areas that may have some harsh angles, where you may have a little bit of conflict. And when you know where the other person is coming from, sometimes it's a lot easier to get through on that. When you realize, like, maybe you are someone who's just quick, 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 but your partner's nature is much more slow and even keel. So you have this fast energy and you have this slow energy. And the astrologer goes, look, this is what I see here. And this is areas where you guys actually meld together. So let's just say you have these two energies, but you both have the same moon placement. It's both in the same sign, like maybe it's in Pisces. So you're very spiritual and very ethereal, and your love is just very ethereal. Then if you're that fast person, that you can go, this is a way to communicate with my loved one and vice versa and express our emotions. And it gives you that solid foundation. So there's a lot to relationships and synastry, but it's a good way, it's a good place if you have relationship issues or you're just curious. Maybe you're curious about when are you going to meet that partner, or how are you going to meet that partner? An astrologer can look at your chart and go, you got these placements here in this house, and you would be great at meeting your partner at maybe a social cause, something that really like inspires you and something that you're a part of. So there's a lot of insight in an astrologer can give you when it comes to relationships. Now, third, career guidance. Okay. I mean, if we're not at home, most of us are at work. And sometimes it's just nice to know, like, not only what career would you excel at, but maybe the timing when it comes to your career. When would you, if you're interested in management, what transits are coming up that would be like great opportunities for you to move up? Or maybe you're in a job that you just are like, I've been here for so long, I'm underappreciated, I'm burnt out, and an astrologer can look at your chart and go, well, have you ever thought about jumping careers? You've got all these placements in your chart. You would be great working with children, or maybe you would be great with finance or something else, something that you're not currently doing. So an astrology reading for career guidance is a great thing to do. And an astrologer can look at so many different parts of your chart and ask you questions and find out, help you find out what maybe you should be doing in your career. And another thing about that, it just popped in my head all about Mercury. So probably because when I worked in corporate America, that was probably the thing that held me back the most. I didn't know when to keep my mouth shut sometimes, or I would say things that would just make everybody like, huh? Because it was out there. Because I always had ideas that were way ahead of the curve. Funny thing is, usually a year or two later, those ideas that I had, they would implement. But if I would have leaned into my Mercury along with like maybe my Saturn energy, I probably would have had a plan along with my idea so that people would take me more serious. And see, those are things that you can learn from an astrologer. Okay, so 4 is a great transition, which is timing decisions. So not only can an astrologer help you out with your career and timing when it comes to that, but so many other things like when's the best time to buy a house, start a family, start a new business, all sorts of things. So sometimes we may have like, I know right now in my own personal life, I've been kind of stuck for a year and the transits that I've had going on. I mean, it makes sense. But I've had all these things like just percolating inside of me. And now things are opening up where the timing is good for me, to make some major transitions in my life, including I plan on moving in the next few months or so. And things are falling into place for me to do that. And timing is, just so important. Whenever you try to force something when things aren't ready, that's like when you have mishap after mishap after mishap. But when it's like divine timing and you're like, wow, this was easy, and I think we've all been through that in our life where we've taken on a major task and we've been so surprised afterwards just how smooth it went. And then we've taken on major tasks where just every step along the way has been problematic. And that has a lot to do with the transits that are going on at the time and how they're impacting what you are working on. So timing decisions is a great time to meet with an astrologer, especially if you have several things that you want to do and you're trying to figure out when, where, what's the best time for it all. So the last one that I have, the last suggestion is for spiritual guidance. Okay. And you may be like, oh, well, astrology is spiritual. When I go to my church or my synagogue or my temple or my place of worship for spiritual guidance. And yes, definitely. If that is where you gravitate towards, go with it. But sometimes we may be raised in a faith, in a religion, and we just don't feel a connection to it. Or maybe we're looking a little bit deeper beyond what we've been raised in. So So maybe the spiritual guidance has more to do with, um, let's say that you're tapping into things that are much more on a grander scale, like maybe lessons carried over from past life or current lessons in this life, like something from Chiron, which is the wounded healer. And I'm going to give you an example from my own personal life. So at 18 years old, I said something very horrific to my father. And please, 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 please don't judge me for this. I was 18 and there's a lot more to the story. I was very much spurred on by some other influences in my life, but um I told my dad, my parents were divorced at the time, and my dad was very he was going through a rough time. He was not being consistent. He was not living up to his word. So I just want to put a little bit more out there. So at 18 degrees in my ninth house is Chiron. And at 18, I told my father that I wished he would die. We were on the phone. He was making promises that I didn't feel like he could keep. I was very mean, very rude, and just it was an awful, awful, awful thing to say. So 2 months later, unfortunately, he died in a car accident. So you may be wondering, like, okay, Teresa, how in the world does this apply to spiritual guidance? Why are you telling me this story? Well, Chiron is the wounded healer. So not only was it a deep wound in my life, but it's also a place where I could heal. And from a spiritual aspect, as years went on, I know my dad is one of my spirit guides, and I've been able to work through the guilt, the shame, the pain on a spiritual level to heal that. And this is in Pisces in my ninth house, which all goes along with that. So there may be other things in your life where you need to heal on a spiritual level, especially with people who have passed or from things that are much deeper than just our normal day-to-day living, things that have affected your life throughout, from that point on. Because trust me, you know, having that guilt that I held on for so long that affected relationships, I mean, it affected me tremendously. And I'm sure it affected my dad the last couple months of him being here on Earth, though I feel like we both have healed from it. But there's still time where I still tap into that, where I realize, oh, wow, I thought I healed that, but then there's a little bit more that I still have to unravel and uncover and heal and take care of. So I know, very personal story. Hope I didn't upset anybody with this, but let me go ahead and recap again 5 reasons why you may want to get an astrology reading. So for self-discovery, which, is just huge, and trust me, they have things like midlife crises for a reason. Because even if we are on that path, just plugging away, we get to a point where we're like, oh, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel satisfied. And astrology reading can really help you with that. Relationships, whether it is romantic, platonic, family, work relationships, career guidance. Should you continue on the path that you're on? Is there another opportunity opening up for you with your career? Timing decisions, when to buy a house, that's a major purchase. When to go on vacation, when to move, when to, do all sorts of different things in your life, start a new business. And then spiritual guidance. If there's things that you're hurting from, if there's things that you feel are unanswered, an astrology reading can really help you with that. So, again, my name is Teresa Tui. I am with Grand Trine Astrology. Please subscribe to my channel. I really focus a lot on the healing aspect of astrology, but there's so many great astrologers out there. So find the one that clicks with you. And when you find that person, book a reading. Trust me, you'll really enjoy it and you deserve it. So I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.